Good afternoon. I'm Carl Garth, and welcome to the Champion Chat with Councillor Alison Champion. Good afternoon, Alison. How are you today?
I'm fantastic as always, Carl. How about you?
Oh, look, it's Friday. We're finally getting a little bit of sun, so
Yeah.
hopefully we'll be in for a good weekend.
Yeah, we are. That's exciting, isn't it? It's a good laundry day today, and tomorrow's going to be even better.
Well, there we go. Just well, I've got children who can do laundry. And today we will be continuing our series on social change and local government support. And again, we'll be having a deeper look at community sports within Banyule City. So joining Alison for this week's chat, we have Adam Betts from the Viewbank Tennis Club. Welcome, Adam. How are you today?
Yeah, good, Carl and Alison. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
It's been a busy week, but ready for the weekend, that's for sure. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, again, with the weather lighting up there a bit, Adam, you'll be able to get out and play some tennis.
Yes, well, I'm heading away this weekend up to a town called Glengarry, actually, to catch up with a friend of mine I used to play tennis with a few years ago. So I might take the tennis racket and give it a go up there, up in
Yeah.
Traralgon. Yeah.
Okay. Grass courts or clay or
I don't know. That's a very good question. I think that there might be hard courts, but don't quote me on that one. I'm not too familiar with Traralgon Tennis Club, but they're quite a big complex though. They've done some tennis tournaments and lead up tournaments for the Australian Open this
okay.
year. So yeah, so I'll see how it goes.
We'll look forward to your report back then, won't we?
Yep.
Well, as I said, today we're going to be focusing on community sports. And as I'm sure many people who watch this podcast and people who are involved in sporting clubs, they would know they're more than just a place where we play sport. Really are. They're an integral part of our community. They're places where we come not only to support each other and play sports, but where we build long-lasting relationships and even be a bit of a source of pride and inspiration to local communities. So, Adam, as a club, what do you believe might be the greatest challenge facing local sports clubs today?
Yeah. No, good question. Look, I think, I've actually just recently stepped down as president, but moved into a membership role, but still very much part of the committee and the executive committee today. But the big challenge I think we found during COVID and probably post-COVID has been attracting volunteers. I think that's probably, I suspect, the consistent theme, which you may have had last month as well from the guys from other clubs. And I think attracting that fresh new blood has been a challenge. I think possibly been because, there was a certain way we all went about life pre-COVID, and COVID's happened, and kind of life for a lot of people's kind of stopped and become quite isolated or not doing much in terms of the social calendar. So I think now we're back out of COVID, lives have become busy again, and probably to the extent we've probably overcompensated busy lives and found this new busy normal. So I think because of that, we've really struggled to kind of get new people who are willing to put extra time into volunteer roles. So that's been a really hard thing for us to attract new people to help out on a consistent basis. That's been our big challenge.
And when we say volunteers, I'm assuming we're talking people who can umpire, help with club events and things like that.
Yeah, so umpiring not so much an issue. It's more the club events and initiatives. Like we've been quite an active club in the last really 5 or 6 years, but in particular coming out of COVID, we've been really big on trying to run events for the members, but also the community abroad. So trying to do lots of open days, family days. We're touching to different cultural background events, like the LGBTQI community is one event that we're actually working with council on at the moment to roll out in January next year. We've been big on doing ladies' nights. Like earlier this year, we did 8 weeks of ladies' twilight or women's twilight tennis, and that worked really. We had like 30 women a week for 8 weeks, which is just way beyond our expectation on how that went. And we partnered with Alison Tennis Club on that one. But the key thing there is like who was going to be there to help every Monday night. So, and we didn't want just the same old people down there every Monday night to help. So we end up doing pretty well to kind of scratch around the find people, and jumped on the phone to a few active people in the past who have been helpful in the club, but we had to kind of go back to the past to find people, and didn't have many people putting their hands up actively saying, yeah, what will be part of that? You have to reach out to them. So So mainly on the event side of things and initiatives is where we're struggling to find people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And look, obviously, we understand volunteers are a bit of blood of any community sports club. So, what are some of the things that you do at Viewbank Tennis Club to raise volunteer participation where you can, but more importantly, to acknowledge their contribution?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think we have been big on acknowledgement. Like one thing that we've done with existing community members in the last few years is putting their names forward for different awards, community awards. So our secretary Sylvia Watson, I put her name forward as it was the Community Person of the Year award at the council ball a few weeks ago, and put her name forward as a nominee. Kate Thwaites MP, she does like a volunteers award every year, so we put forward names for that award and had some recipients in that award category too, which is just it's not a huge thing, but it's just something that there's no monetary part of it. It's just being recognised,
acknowledgement,
acknowledgement for different things that key people have been part of, not just committee members either. People have been off the committee helping in different roles, such as our men's twilight tennis, which is every Thursday night. So we acknowledge the assistance from people there, not on the committee, but are running those every Thursday during the summer months. So we're really big on that. At committee meetings, putting things forward to say thank you for different things, big or small, because I think it's important to acknowledge all wins, big and small, and all jobs done as well, because it is so hard to kind of keep people motivated and going along like that. So I think that just helps a little bit, that positive energy and reinforcement on what things are done, on things that are done. So we're really big on that. In terms of attracting people, you only get a couple of really key moments during the year to do that. One's the AGM, obviously, and you get people putting their hands up to help with small things, but those small things definitely help. And social media is probably the other thing too, making call outs to members if they've got expertise in different areas, or like one example is a member of ours, he's a landscaper builder, so he's helped with various projects around the club in the last few years, and almost like a bit of a sponsorship way. So he will do some work, give us a discount on the work as a sponsorship, and then so everyone wins there, support the membership, and then the club benefits from different works done around the club. What else? We've done a survey in the last couple of months in terms of saying, other members out there who have different skill sets again as well, just to reach out more specifically on helping the club too. So there's a couple of ways we do things, but so the surveys, social media, AGM are the two avenues to find new people.
Yeah, and you also, Adam, I'm aware that, you've received a couple of awards over the last few years from both Banyule and I think it was Tennis Victoria, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, I was nominated for like the Volunteer Achievement Award last year with Tennis Victoria, and so didn't win the award, but just to be acknowledged as a finalist in quite a few nominations was a bit of a surprise, to be honest, when I found out I was nominated. But it was because you don't do it for, like, for me and a lot of our guys, we don't do it for the acknowledgement and the awards. You do it because you've got passion in the sport and helping people, and it's nice. It is nice to get acknowledged and recognised. Don't get me wrong, but that's not the reason why we do it. We do it because we like what we do. So, and the club as well has been put forward a few times, including this year. The club itself was put forward to Tennis Victoria as the Club of the Year, and we came down to the last four finalists, and we got pipped at the post by Coburg Tennis Club, which is a bit of an arch rival in this area, I'm told, by our Tennis Victoria officers. But but it's nice for the club to get recognised in that sense, because there's so many clubs in Victoria, so to be down to the last four is pretty exciting, and it's a nice reward for effort for the work we do.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
That's good.
Yeah. Actually, and I believe Viewbank is a all year round club, Adam, running competitions.
All year in terms. Well, there's two main seasons for juniors and night tennis. So the juniors covers boys and girls, and the night tennis, the external competition for night tennis for women, men, and also mixed as well. That kind of happens between, say, anywhere between, there's the autumn season, which is February through to, say, June, July, and then there's a spring season, say August through to November. But then we also have on top of that, like our Twilight internal competitions. So Twilight Men's, which runs from late November, so November through to around February, March. So that kind of covers that summer months. And same with the women's Twilight. We have kicked up and started to go in line with the men's Twilight summer months as well. So we are all year round. Just it's either external or internal competition. Plus, there's all the social play, and that's probably where we've seen the biggest shift in the last 3 or 4 years, especially when we implemented and installed an online booking system, online court system, which is kind of connected to our front gate, so people can jump online really easily. You can block out time, half an hour, 2 hours for court hire. And that basically you get given a code, or for members, they have the membership code there. They come to the gate, plug the code in, the gate opens. So there's no need for a key anymore, and no need for us volunteers to be down there and having to pick up keys from a house at this certain time. So that's definitely reduced our hours in terms of volunteer hours. But it's more to make it more convenient for the members and the public too. So you can go online, book your court time, day or night, as well, as long as the courts aren't already booked, and that makes it a lot easier to get down and have a hit. So that makes tennis an all year round thing, because you can come and play social tennis whenever you want, any day of the year, Christmas Day, really anything you want to do. So that makes our club an all year round thing, which provides its own challenges in a way too, in terms of costs and maintenance. But we're pretty well planned and resourced from that point of view, from a budgeting aspect, and getting better again, trying to find improvements in budgets, but also trying to source money from sponsors and grants and the like too.
So, Adam, as a general public person, I should be able to go to the website that's in the copy below this video and click on that to be able to just make a booking and pay by credit card, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, all online on credit card. Yeah, exactly right. So the really easy, seamless. If you have any questions, there's an info@Viewbank TC or membership email that you can kind of email or give us a call. We're all pretty available on email and phone call to help any of the public to work through that. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Jump on. You just need to set up a login with your email first time, and then book away from there. So the fees are slightly higher for night tennis, just because of the lights and electricity, but all the costs are pretty comparable across other clubs in not just our area but other council areas. We've done a lot on trying to work out what is that right number for court hire purposes, and there is a point that when you do start playing a lot more, is it worth becoming a member? Because when you become a member, daytime hire courts is free, but then there's a small charge for night usage. So at some point, it does become economical to become a member as opposed to a public person. But some people just enjoy the public hire. We've got people who hire the courts a lot, but don't want to become a member for various reasons. It doesn't work for them. They don't want that commitment to be tied down to one particular club, and that's fine. And this is what this system allows. It allows flexibility. You don't have to be a member. You just come and play as you need to. You don't feel tied to the club either, and that's okay too. We obviously enjoy having members, but it's not the be-all and end-all for the club.
Excellent.
And I'm also just thinking of the practicalities of this. I think it's a great opportunity for anyone in the community who wants to come and have a hit, quite frankly. We've made it really easy for people to do that. So coming back to our volunteers, obviously, this allows for the opportunity for people to come and have a hit. They don't need to tell anybody that they're coming. They just simply log on, pay, and then come along and they get the code. But surely after, a few days of this, there would need to be one of the volunteers from the club coming and just checking the grounds, checking the courts, checking all sorts of things. So what sort of things, is there like a roster for that, or people are looking, you've got your volunteers who are coming to just check? Yeah.
Look, we're quite lucky, just given some of the community members that there's two or three that live around the corner from the club, like walking distance. So it's a bit of an unwritten rule that, or a now committed rule that these guys probably keep more of an eye on the club than other committee members. But it is a shared load. I mean, especially during the week with competition, most of us are playing night comp or different competitions. So we're there to oversee any issues anyway. So you're there in person on competition nights. The coaches are great on the coaching days, which is generally Monday through the Saturday. They're also there keeping an eye on things too and report back to us if they do see any issues. So that's also helpful to have a strong coach club relationship there, because we don't pay our coaches. They're just an external business that pay us for the court hire, and but it's important though the coaches need to be integrated with the club plans, because both really can't survive without one another. So the coaches do that in terms of they're there most days from say 3 till 7 or 8 o'clock, and so they're keeping an eye on things. So that really helps. The members or the community members who live around the corner, they walk past naturally on their walks around the streets. So they pop in and have a look and see if there's any issues. So likes of Neil, Darren, and Damien as an example, they're really great in kind of being active just to stick their head down there. It's not too inconvenient for them. And if things are an issue, then we obviously escalate that and do what we need to do with other people going down. So yeah, it's a shared load. There's no real roster. It's just we work pretty well together. We're pretty laid back from that point of view. We're a pretty friendly bunch and all get on pretty well. So yeah, good team down there.
So what I get is that there's a sense of pride and ownership.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
of the club.
Yeah, and we really, especially when things were kind of a bit dormant there during COVID, we had that time to reflect and go, how do we want to kind of bounce back from that and present the club? And not that we weren't really proud of how we presented, but it was definitely a good way just to reset and see, are there things around the club we can do better? And we came out of COVID and started doing some decent works in terms of groundkeeping. We changed gardeners who was a bit more well-resourced in terms of that point of view. He's come through and done lots of pruning and cutting back bushes. People that were complaining about tennis balls being lost in bushes, those bushes are now gone. Will be replaced with other more native bushes over the next 6 to 12 months. But with a plan in that, we always want to replenish what we've taken out. But there was some old scrappy bushes that they're now gone. People can now see the courts, not looking through these old bushes. Trees were a little bit older and some branches hanging over different things over the fences as an example. So we had those pruned back as well. So, and there's been lots of comments around how nice and open the place looks. And I think there's one big thing now, just to have a nice, open, inviting, welcoming space that's nice, clean and tidy. And that makes a big impact. Not just the members can see it, but people coming down and going, oh, gee, everything's looking so great. And so we do take pride in how everything looks, but that involves us going down there regularly just to keep an eye on things and pick up rubbish, or things get missed sometimes, and we're there to kind of pick up the pieces. So
So Adam, one of the things I'd really like to understand a little bit more, I mean, you're doing a lot of work around the club. You've mentioned some of the nights you're doing, but what other steps does your club or even the governing body or the committee take to ensure a safe, respectful environment for all participants and supporters?
A good question. So, I mean, some basic level is that all our committee now are trained up as first aid officers, including our coaches. It's a prerequisite for the coaches, to be honest, to be to do that. It's also a prerequisite too with some of the rules of Tennis Victoria that committee members need to have a working with children's checks. So that's another compliance bit, but also something that really makes sense. Even without the compliance, a lot of us already had it anyway. So so there's that in terms of member protection rules. But we're governed anyway by a lot of what Tennis Victoria have, and they've got a really good and thorough member protection policy, and that also we follow basically and adopt all of their policies, and that's something that gives members an opportunity. If they do see anything that's kind of gone amiss, indecent behaviour, like, behaviour in terms of language, or unfortunately, we have seen in the past where we've had to take action on a member for how they've kind of dealt with their children on court, where someone's actually reported saying, "Oh, that's not good enough. You shouldn't be doing that. It's just a sport. Just take it easy." But we actually had to take some further action on someone on that. So we take all complaints seriously. So we do have a member protection officer where members can put in anonymous complaints. We then take those to the committee when they happen. It's only happened once, luckily, but in that experience, we were given a report. We met as a committee straight away, called a special meeting, made contact in writing to the member, brought them in, had a chat to them, and then it happened again, and then we basically took action from there. So again, members can take confidence that we are an open committee. We want to hear about anything good or bad that happens, and our goal is to make it a safe, fun environment for friends and family to come and play tennis. You shouldn't feel threatened or in danger at all. And if you do, come and see us, because there is an avenue where you can do that. Tennis Victoria's support. I think the head of the member protection team, he used to be in the police force and seen a lot of this stuff with domestic violence as well. So we've got the support there. If anything needs to get escalated, we've got the support through Tennis Vic to help with any early situations as well. So, yes, that's probably the big part. That's probably the biggest part we follow and puts us in a good position to look after members. And that's all publicised at the club on posters and websites. But all the other smaller things like first aid, working with children's checks. So we're very compliant in terms of having the right people who have been checked and background checked on the committee looking after the club. Same with the coaches too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And look, you've mentioned that you take a lot of guidelines from the Victorian Association, governing body, where players show potential. What pathways can your club facilitate to maybe help them reach high levels?
That's a good question, Carl. That's probably more of a question for our coaches, to be honest, but I'll have a go answering it. Look, that's probably one thing I think we've identified we as a club could possibly do a little bit better at. The coaches are, I said, the coaches are independent to the club in terms of they run their own business, and that's it's their clientele directly with them that they work with. So there are some really good kids and adults working with the coaches one-on-one. So we probably don't see as much or not involved as in much of the dialogue there between coaches and their students, because they're effectively their clients as well. So there's clients who are not members, and we're not ones to kind of pry out the information from the coaches, just from a client privacy point of view, which is another thing that we're quite big on too, and that's another point we can talk about in terms of member information and privacy rules. But look, that's probably something we could probably work a little bit better with the coaches. We have spoken around pathways to excellence in a way, but I think just the makeup of our club at the moment, there's probably more on the relaxed side of things, where you got really good kids, just good genuine kids, full stop, in terms of human being point of view and nature and stuff. But in terms of tennis skills, we do have some really good kids who play some high grades in the junior ranks and night tennis, but whether they're kind of to the point where they want to be taking their tennis that much further into the into amateurs and the high grade tennis fit grades and then professional, we probably don't have any of those kids all coming through, but I'm sure there will be some in the future. So that's one thing that we should look at in a bit more detail. But just the nature of our membership, we don't have that right at this stage.
Okay. And things I want to talk to you about is as the state government is implementing the big build. One of the things, especially with the Northeast Link, is that the Boroondara Tennis Club in Bulleen is going to be shutting down.
Yep.
Yes, we've seen a lot of investment into sporting grounds with infrastructure and that. So I've got a question in two parts for you. One, the closing of Boroondara is obviously going to remove something like 30 courts of availability in the northeastern corridor there. How much of an impact is that going to have on your ability to meet, or will that increase the demand for your courts? And secondly, with some of the investment that the state and local governments have been putting into sporting infrastructure, has any of that happened at Viewbank Tennis Club?
No, they're two good questions. Like the first part, I think the simple answer will be yes, I suspect so. I think, especially with the relocation, I think they're moving out to like Glen Waverley or out that way, Mount Waverley. So it's going to be a big change for those people who currently go down there and have a hit on a weekly basis. They want to commit to traveling a bit further or not. So, and I'm sure there will be some, just in terms of the natural connection of who they play with and friendship groups, so they're committed to go with that move, and they'll do that. But I am expecting there to be a demand on the existing other clubs in the area, which I think is a good opportunity really for all clubs to work with council and Tennis Victoria on, okay, how do we service those people going forwards in terms of facilities and programs. I think it's one thing I think the clubs can probably be made better at in terms of working together. I know we've worked really closely with Rosanna Tennis Club as one example, but I think that the opportunity for clubs to work together as one to kind of work out a way we can kind of shoulder that load will be helpful. But clearly opportunity there from a facilities point of view to enable clubs to take on more people playing, not just members, but court usage. So quantifying that, I don't know what that's going to be, but as far as I know, there's quite a few people that go through in there, go through Burundara traffic-wise, so there's going to be quite an influx, I would have thought. In terms of the funding, yes, we have been active on that. We haven't applied yet. There is that Northeast link funding that I think we didn't apply for the first round, but looking to go for the second round. But it's something that we want to have a clear plan on. We don't want to just apply for something and without much thought to it. So, in which we found the first time around, we probably just caught ourselves a bit too short in terms of time. So rather than just kind of putting an application in and hope for the best, we want to be a bit more considered in terms of what area we want to invest in and what are our gaps at the club. So I think an obvious gap is probably, or the next gap is the clubhouse and how we do either a renovation or complete rebuild on that. But that's something that we're working through at the moment. The rest of our facilities are pretty good, to be honest. We've done lots of work in the last few years in terms of rebuilding two of our courts, installation of fences, LED lights. Thank you to Banyule City Council. They helped us fund all of our lights to convert to LED, which are just awesome. They make such a difference, not just from an environmental standpoint, but the light makes such a difference. I didn't realise how our other lights are okay, but these are really bright. So it makes a big difference to have something decent in there. So
so you can see the wall and the bush at night.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly right. So you can just see the ball full stop, which is good. So there were some pockets now. Like the other lights were great, but just there were some pockets in the court where maybe a little bit more dull. So whereas this, absolutely no problem. So so that's probably where we're at with the funding. Yeah, definitely next stage, and have a bit more a plan for that. Have a more considered plan on what we want to invest in.
That's good to hear, actually, Adam, because I often sit on grants boards, if that's the right expression. So I'm one of the people who's responsible for going through the grant applications for whatever it is. It could be a variety of things. And, I sit with a few people from a variety of positions around council, and we go through the grant applications, and our goal is to offer, we want to give everybody something at the very least. We really want to. And as a person who has that attitude and sits on the committee at the time of the grant applications, I read a variety of styles of applications, and there are those that come through that there has been significant amount of time invested in the application, and you can read it in their wording, in their financial aspect. You can see that they've put a lot of thought in. and not only describing their organisation and how the grant would assist them, but also their vision.
Mm.
And you can just hear it and read it, and you get a sense of the importance of this application for them. And then there are those that you just read through and you go, there's not a lot of oomph in this one. And for some organisations to not apply themselves, there are times when I've read an application and I've gone, you know what, this is actually a really disappointing application for the organisation who's writing it.
Yeah.
It's not about how much they're asking. It's not about what they're going to do with the money. It's more, this organisation is great. It has fabulous values. It has significant values in our society. And it's really disappointing to read, quite frankly, a half-baked application, and not a lot of time has been invested.
Yeah.
That can be really disappointing for the committee as they're reading the application.
Yeah.
So it's great to hear that you're actually consciously going, what's the best application for us? Which one are we going to apply for, and why? And how does that fit for us as a club? So it's really good to hear that you're doing that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think to that point, there, you mentioned around like the half-baked stuff, and I think it's interesting because we feel really lucky that our club, that we've always had, what's the right word of saying? We've always had probably the right skill sets as part of the committee, or we know the right people to go to in terms of support, either be that professional, or we've had the courage to reach out and speak to yourself, who you've been a really good advocate for our club, and we've greatly appreciated all of your advice, not just to me but to the other committee. But we've had the courage to have that chat, reach out to you for the help, and to council and Tennis Victoria and other professional bodies out there too. So we've been lucky from that point of view in terms of having the right skill set and resources there. But I think there's other clubs who aren't as well resourced as what we are, and some other clubs, and you don't know what you don't know in a way. So like if they don't know who to go to, then they're kind of stuck to it themselves, and that's something that I think is a huge opportunity at whichever level it is. Where I know council's done some really good webinars with Club Map, who's like they're a sports club advisor in terms of helping committees structure their club and where to go to for finances and funding and whatnot. So they've been a really good advisor for us. We've sought advice from them in the past, and it's kind of doing more at that level. So whether it's Tennis Victoria, other sporting bodies, government or council, doing more to kind of to say, reminding clubs, hey, there's support out there. And go and ask for it. Don't feel scared to go and ask for it. I think that's one big thing that we've kind of put, not there is ego, but put any egos or I can do this aside.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to reach out for help, because help is out there. It's just understanding where is the help, take it on board. Because even with the body you're trying to get the funding from, reaching out to them just to talk around, this is an idea. How does that fly in terms of the grant application?
Yes.
Is that something worth doing, or should we be looking elsewhere? And the governments and council have been great for us to have that kind of discussion at a higher level, and that kind of then puts you in the right direction. So it's just having the confidence to do that, and just knowing that people won't bite your head off for asking for help, because the help is there. But it's just how we bring those smaller clubs along in a way to kind of to take that next step for the help. So and
a lot of the time it does come back to ask your local councillor.
Exactly. Well, I think that's what it is.
Rep.
Yeah. I think there's like not maybe it's I'm not too sure it's intimidation or just people are shy to do so. I'm not too sure what it is, but I think you guys do a great job for us, and from what we've seen, and I think really active, and you want the best for all the clubs and different bodies across the council area. So people should feel no problem giving you a call directly, because you guys are always available. Yourself, Fiona, now as well. It's Nikos, he's been great too. And so I think, that's probably my point to other clubs, is to say, reach out and ask. You guys take the phone call. If you're busy, you always return a call back or text back, and that's
That's
what
right.
I would say. Yeah.
And that's a great mindset to have, Adam and Alison. We know that there's people inside council who help businesses with preparing their grant applications. Assume that there would be the same resources available to not-for-profits, to sporting clubs, etc., to be able to seek that assistance. And they could find that, I'm assuming, on the Banyule City Council website.
Yep. You can find that on the website. Again, contact local councillor, which is also on the website. And then but the other thing too is if people aren't terribly internet savvy, think about it. If you're not very internet savvy, that's okay. Who's in your network who maybe knows, has connected with, I'll get calls from residents for a variety of things, or they'll email me and go, I found you. I've worked out you're my counsellor. My neighbour told me. So now can you help me with this? Or the Banyule banner. Do you know what? So many people get back to us, and the next one's due out very soon if you don't already have it. So the Banyule banner comes in people's letterboxes, and we often will receive a message about our little spiel, our little thing that we've put in there for our ward, and people will contact us directly that way as well. So there are various ways to get through to us, and then if we can't, we don't know every staff member. We're actually not supposed to, quite frankly, just through the processes. But we can put you in touch with one of the best officer to help with, in this case, a grant application. Or, if you've got any questions, say, favourite one around here is parking. We put you in touch with transport. Or waste. Waste is another one. You want to know about FOGO, or you've got comments about FOGO, we put you in touch with the waste department. We may have answers for you too, but we can also put you in touch with, the appropriate department. So we are definitely the conduit for you.
Adam, do you have any partnerships with, say, schools who look to use your facilities as well? And if there is a school looking around the area, they're able to approach the club and use those facilities?
Absolutely. We're very open to those relationships, and we have done in the past, probably not as considered as what we wanted to be. There's probably been more just through incidental contacts and relationships, but our most recent one that we're trying to make a lot more formal now is with the Viewbank College. So that makes sense geographically. We're just a four-handle back and away from the school grounds there. So we again connected through an existing club member who's on the committee there, and made our connection with the principal and the head of sports, I think it was. So we actually went down there, I think a couple of months ago now, just to present it at a seminar there and with the students, and we're going to work with them a bit more closely now because it makes sense geographically to do that. So but we're definitely, I think our coaches as well, they work with Viewbank primary schools, so they go up there with their own coaching programs. So not linked to the club directly, but our coaches definitely have a footprint into Viewbank primary. Again, that's up the road from us, so it makes sense geographically too. But it's something that we're definitely open with. I think we've done work with Tennis Victoria and the schools programs. A couple of years ago, we hosted like a schools final, a tennis final at our club, and ran a canteen there and had some committee members run the canteen for the schools. And so we're very open to those types of things, and always looking to build new relationships with other clubs, schools, bodies. So definitely something that's on our strategic plan in terms of making better connections and more meaningful connections with the schools, that's for sure.
Excellent. And look, Adam, one of the things that we discussed last month with some of the other club presidents and committee members was insurance premiums, how it's affecting a lot of the club's finances, because seeing those premiums go up, is that something that is impacting also in the tennis community?
Yeah, it is. We're lucky from a public liability and like any injuries on court. That's all covered through insurance policy. It's underwritten and kind of controlled by Tennis Victoria. So we pay like an affiliation fee to them, and then through that they apply for insurance for all clubs under like the one banner. So so we're lucky from that point of view. Like we pay an affiliation fee, which is quite hefty, but we don't have to pay for an insurance on top of that. That's all covered under group policy. So as long as members have paid, they're all financial members, or their visitors are coming through competition, all those cases, as long as you paid up, paid a court hire fee, or you're a visitor to the club playing competition, you're always going to be covered from any injury point of view. Probably the one thing that I think we've had to navigate through in the past is, what's insured and what's covered by council's kind of property insurance cover, and what's not, and what do we have to cover as a club. So we went through that exercise a few years ago. It's that insurance that tends to creep up a bit, and then touch wood, we haven't had any claims yet, but if you made a claim at some point in time, that's when policies would start to creep up. But I think just costs in general, expenses in general, like you think insurance is one, but not the biggest one. Like we have cleaning as one example. We've taken a huge pride in making sure we do cleaning at least once a week. It used to be twice or three times a week during COVID, just to make sure touch points are all cleaned and toilets are clean, kitchen. Now that the traffic's increased to the clubhouse now after all the restrictions have come down. So cleaning's been a big cost to us during the last few years, which we haven't passed on to members. It's just something we've budgeted for. And what else? The light costs up until LED lights, that was getting quite expensive, not just from an electricity point of view, but from these globes that you have to replace. They're like $1,000 a pop. So that they used to be quite expensive to replace. All the ongoing maintenance, like to keep the grounds, nice and tidy, have a garden that comes in once a month, and that's not cheap, and you kind of get what you pay for in a way. So so all those types of overheads, for sure, they're like insurance, electricity, cleaning, gardening, they're all there, but we do really well to kind of budget for that, and we're pretty considered with our budget. And we then assess then from a membership point of view what is the right membership level, but what else can we do to kind of keep the cost down for members too. So we're not the most expensive membership, but not the cheapest. I think we're a really good value membership, but then there's other things we can do to drive revenue into the club and to kind of cover those other overhead costs. So just expenses in general, Carl, I think are an issue, and everything. Nothing's getting cheaper these days. It's going the other way. It puts more emphasis on having a really good treasurer that we do have. We've had that in the past with Neil and now Damien. I used to be treasurer before becoming president, so we've always had an accountant. All three of us have accounting backgrounds, which is helpful, and but also are very good at kind of setting aside budget money. We're not ones to kind of say, there's an expense there, we shouldn't spend it. The other way of looking at things sometimes is what's the investment that you're making and what benefit will you get from the investment too. And that's probably where we've had a change of mindset in terms of, yes, you have to manage your costs and your overheads, but also if there's an expense that comes up, questioning, is it the right expense or is it an investment that you're going to get back your return over time too? And we're quite happy to do those investments into programs and events if you're going to make a decent impact to the community on that front. So the money management is important.
Just on that, Adam, obviously, yes, we understand that there are expenses in life, but is your club able to provide assistance to, say, families that might be struggling to provide equipment for their children to be able to get entry level into tennis?
Yeah, so through all the programs that we've been running, there's one that we're going to do soon for like the youth mental health, and so we're going to have all equipment provided, but for say shoes, we're going to have tennis balls, rackets provided at those events where there's no initial impact up front where you have to run around and buy a tennis racket. Like we have all the equipment there from our club, and also the coaches to provide equipment for those days. We've always been big on, I think we did it pretty well in terms of saying if there's any financial hardship issues, come and speak to us, because we want to help those families. We also joined up as part of the Victorian government. They had that there's like a sports kind of family program where you can actually apply for like a voucher to go towards kids sport and funding. And we had a couple of members actually claim that. I think it's like a $200 credit that they could apply to a membership. So we actually had 2 or 3 of those actually during the COVID years, where families actively, as long as you qualify for it, there's some conditions there. They apply through government to get the credit, and then they can apply for the membership without any cost to them. And the club was still able to get some money through the government, so to cover the membership fee. So we weren't out of pocket, neither was the member. So it was all a government initiative. So we signed up for that, consciously knowing, well, there will be some examples, and there were, of that. So we thought that's a no-brainer to sign up for that initiative, and that worked really well for us. Yeah.
So Adam, there's some key, like you've obviously got some a number of programs running. What are key dates that people should be aware of, and where can they find out some more information about how to become part of these events, or when they can sign up, etc.?
Yeah, sure. So our website and Facebook are probably, and Instagram now, which I've never been on Instagram until the last couple of months. I'm a new Insta advocate, so which I never thought I'd hear myself say that. But I'm now part of all that world. But so we're huge on social media. So Facebook, Instagram, website, they're always up to date with what's coming up. Our communication to members on newsletters is always there. But if the public want to check website, Facebook, they're always up to date with upcoming events, including the Women's Twilight, which is one that we've been really big on promoting. I saw Fiona just the other day. She posted the Facebook feed on her network as well. So, and I know Alison's done the same in the past for other events. So yeah, Facebook's probably a big push in terms of social media. So that's ongoing at the moment. So that's Wednesday nights over the next few months at 7 p.m. every Wednesday. We've got Sylvia and Craig in particular running those sessions there. Pretty laid back, pretty casual. Come down, have a hit. It's all there to have fun. It's not there for intense competition. So just come down and have a hit and enjoy yourself and meet some new people. In January, we've got the Pride Cup Day, which is LGBTQI focused, just to work on ways to break down those barriers and provide explicitly say out to the community that we want to be a welcoming club for all. So for all backgrounds, ages, cultures, genders, whatever the case is, we are open for everyone. So we want people to feel comfortable coming down to meet new people. We don't want there to be any reasons why that no one shouldn't be able to come down and play tennis and socialise with other people either. So we're really big on that, and are following the Tennis Victoria's lead on that, and they've been really big in that space. So that's in January. So again, follow Facebook website for that. What else? Open, we always advertise our open days. There'll be another one probably around the Australian Open Day, like around the Australian Open time. There'll be an open day there and a family day then. And then there's the youth mental health day, which we haven't finalised the date yet for that, but I'm sure we'll advertise that on Facebook as well.
Excellent. And look, for all those watching, we'll make sure that those links are below in the description, including also email contacts, so you can get in touch with the committee at the club. Look, I must say, I've been involved in community sports for a long time. I've always found it rewarding. I think that they're great places to bring people together. Alison, I know you've got some thoughts you might like to share about what you feel community sport gives back to the community.
It's community sport is so much more than being able to hit a ball or catch a ball. Thank goodness, because I can't do that. I used to play hockey. The ball stayed on the ground. It was great. It's not actually, do you know what? Community sport isn't always about the sport. Yes, it allows for activity and movement, but what I really see, and this is before I was on council, something that it's really become clearer well after being on council, all the connections that people make, regardless of their age or their gender or their background. The sport itself brings people together. You know, like I want to play X sport. So the sport itself already brings people together. But as we're saying, it's run by so many volunteers, and there's something more out of it. There is always something more that is intangible that comes out of community sport. And it's a place where, you know, friendships are made, extended relationships are made and created, and can last longer than one's time in a club. It can last a lifetime. These relationships can last a lifetime. And what I've seen and come to appreciate about a community sporting group is that, you know, there are essentially surrogate parents or surrogate kids. There are mentors. So, you know, a young person, you know, isn't able to have a certain conversation with their parents or a family member, they can possibly have it with a mentor in the sporting club. And so there's just, those sorts of relationships come out of a community sporting group. And that's a significant strength. That allows for a really solid foundation for a community.
Yep. Adam, anything you'd like to add to that?
I think Alison's hit the mark there in terms of the sport's there and as just a really connecting piece really between people. I think like with anything in life, you know, business included, you know, you're always dealing with two, you know, people and humans in the background or in front of you really. So your business relationship, transaction or sport is just a connecting piece just to human beings, I guess. So I think I agree with Alison there. It's we're there as a I guess as an avenue for people to come down and be active. Yeah, that's tennis for us. That's really good for us, but we don't expect them to necessarily join as a member. They're happy for them to just come down as a public person and just have a hit. The main thing is they're going out there, giving it a go and being with people they're friendly with their friends and family. So you know, we see our part is just to be really a facilitator of that and nothing more than that. And if they want to join our club, that's great, but that's not the reason why we're there to do that. We're there to be a bigger picture, be part of the bigger picture really, to kind of allow people just to go and have fun and enjoy each other's company. So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's a great way to finish up the segment. So look, I'd like to thank you both, Alison and Adam, for your time today.
Thank you.
Hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Excellent. And thank you to everybody for listening to this podcast. Join us next time on the Champion Chat to see our next podcast, which will be our Christmas one, Alison.
Will be our Christmas one, yes.
Excellent. All right.
Well, thanks, Alison.
Always a pleasure, Adam. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.